Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Today we are going to be showing you guys how I make my wigs at home. This wig right here is not a homemade wig, by the way. This is my cranberry wig that I'm still yet to do a review on. Spoiler alert, I hate it. Today we're going to do a very budget friendly hair because we are using pack hair. So this one comes with a closure, and usually when pack hair comes with a closure, the first thing I do is pull out that closure and throw it in the garbage. It's normally like this little round fishnet thing with like 3 pieces of hair attached to it. This is a closure that you normally get in pack hair. Like, what do you do with this? What is that? I feel like we've come way too far in the wonderful world of wigs and weaves to accept this as a closure. Usually I'll just buy a separate closure and use that instead, but this pack actually comes with a 4x4 closure. I've never used pack hair that came with a closure like this before, so we're going to try it out today. And it's great because that means that this wig is going to be 100% budget friendly. So let's get started. So this hair I purchased off of SamsBeauty.com. It's supposed to be a premium blend, which means that it's partially human hair mixed with synthetic hair. And it has 3 bundles, 18, 16, and 14 inches, and then it has the 4x4 lace closure. And I believe this whole pack was either $24 or $26. I'm going to link it in the description below. So I'm going to be using a mesh dome cap. They also have spandex ones, but I feel like I can't breathe if I wear those ones, so I just like to use the mesh ones. This is also from Sam's Beauty. So dome caps always have these very thick stitch lines going through the middle, well, not through the middle, but you know what I mean. Like, it kind of marks out the middle, and it's always narrow on one side and then wider on the other end. So the wider end is the front of the head. So I'm just gonna lay it on my head the same way I would if it was a human head. So this is the closure that came with the pack. Just so you know, if you want to bleach it or pluck it or anything, I recommend doing that before you even start this process. Normally I would do that, but I honestly forgot, and I don't feel like stopping now because I'm already getting started. But this seems like a pretty decent closure for pack hair. I have to say I'm impressed. So I just clipped up the hair to make it a little bit easier to deal with, and I'm going to start by laying the closure with the hairline falling just a little bit ahead of where the dome cap ends. And I'm going to be using some T-pins just to help keep it in place. So 2 things to remember when you're stitching. One is when you're around the hairband of the dome cap, you don't want to go through both layers because it is folded material here. So you want to make sure that you're just sewing through that top layer only, because if you don't, then you're not going to be able to get your cap to stretch, and it's going to be way too tight on your head. And 2, you want to make sure that your stitches are very, very close together. It seems really tedious, but trust me, it's worth it when it comes to finishing off this wig. And when I'm sewing, to make sure that my stitches are secure, I like to go forward 2 or 3 stitches, and then I go back 2 stitches, and then I continue going through the whole thing, because that's just how it would be if you were using a sewing machine. So I just like to imitate that whenever I'm doing my weaves or wigs. So as you can see here, I'm running out of thread before I reach the end. So what I'm going to do is do that same forward stitch, back stitch thing that I did in the beginning, and end it right there, and then add another piece of thread right there, and I'll do the same forward, back, forward stitch, and then finish off the track. So now we're about to start sewing on our hair. So I'm starting in the back of the head. So I don't really know how to show you guys exactly what the measurement would be, but basically I'm gonna go along the stitch line of this dome. That's just where I like to start my bottom tracks. And I like to imagine if I had ears here, then I'll put it like right at the base of where the ears would hang. because that's how I would picture it if I was doing a weave on somebody's head. So it'll be about there to there. And I double my tracks because look how thin this hair is. So I'm gonna double my wefts and just measure it where I want it to go. And I'm gonna use my T-pins again to hold it in place as I'm sewing, and then I will remove them as I go along to make it easier. And when you start sewing your regular tracks down, the stitching can be a little bit more spaced out than it was for the closure. And you want to make sure that you're stitching them on tight, but not too tight, because this isn't an actual person, so you want to have some space to move while you're adjusting it on your head. It might take a little bit of practice to figure out exactly how tight is tight enough, but just keep it in mind that you don't want to pull it so tight that you're almost breaking your string. And when I reach the end of my tracks, I like to just cut them. I know a lot of people like to just fold them and keep on going so you never cut your track, but I personally think that it creates too much bulk behind the ear, so I prefer just cutting them and starting over fresh for each row. Also, if you're doubling your tracks, I find it very difficult to do the fold over method, so that's also why I like to cut them. So we're basically going to keep the same technique, just going all the way up through the entire head. We're going to do a bunch of C's, just going towards the front of the head, and then I'll turn into more of a U shape as we reach the top, which I will show you guys after I do a few more tracks. Some people like to draw their lines out with Sharpie marker just so that it's easier to follow, so if that works for you, that you can do that as well. But I personally I'm so used to doing this that I just like to just keep on going. So as I'm getting to the top of the head, I'm gonna start using these short pieces that I usually have left over and start folding them over facing more downwards so that we fill the crown of the head a little more naturally. So since we're at the top of the head now, I'm going to start using only single wefts and stop doubling them for now because I want it to lay flatter and neater and look more natural. But I'm going to space them closer together now so that we still have the same amount of volume and we're not seeing through the hair and seeing the scalp. So for my very last track, I am going to double it again, and this is actually the very last piece of hair I have left, so this was perfect, and I'm just gonna sew it right along the edge of the closure. So I'm doing small stitches again, just like how I did it when I was doing the closure. They're a little bit more spaced out than they were with the closure, but closer together than the rest of the tracks are. And I am sewing it right into the lining of the closure as well as the mesh of the dome cap. And I didn't mention this before, but in case you guys are wondering, I sew my needles, I sew the thread underneath the weft and not through it. It's just easier for me and it still lays flat and nicely that way. So this wig is just about finished. All we have left to do is just cut the part of the cap that's right underneath the closure. So underneath you can clearly see where you stitch your closure. So we're just gonna cut the fabric in between that area, and then obviously you wanna be really careful that you don't cut where you did your stitches because that's just gonna ruin everything. And this is why it was very important that our stitches were very close together, because now you know that it's gonna hold itself together even though we just cut off a part of its foundation. And there you go, that is your lace closure. I'm actually really impressed, guys. This closure is actually pretty decent for a pack hair closure. So hopefully Sam's Beauty still has this. I'll put it in the description so you guys can go ahead and get one for yourself if you want it. But yeah, there you have it. This is your very own homemade lace closure wig that you can customize and style however you like. You can apply heat to it up to 400 degrees, And yeah, now you can brag that you made yourself your own wig. Here is the completed project. Ignore the lace, of course. I'm gonna just tuck that in really quick. But there we go. This is a little bit fuller than I expected it to be, but that's okay. Once I like lay it down and style it and everything, it'll be perfect. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. I'm gonna list the links for everything that I use. Literally everything I use in this project is from Sam's Beauty except for my tripod. I got that from Beauty School, but everything else I got online, so I'll list it below in case you guys are interested in ordering any of this stuff. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.